Guys, I have a couple questions for you. First of all, have you or anybody you can ever complained about free practice being boring and just hope they didn't practice? The Formula 1 drivers, that is. Question 2. Have you or anyone you can ever complained about the length of the Grand Prix, thinking, oh, they're too long, I wish they were a bit shorter? And question 3. What on God's green earth is Stefano Domenicali on? First of all, I hope the camera angle's okay. I can't see my screen because I'm using my rear camera on my phone. But an article came out from Autosport yesterday, and I want to talk about it. Of some changes that Formula 1 could be undergoing in the future. Stefano Domenicali talking about vision for the future. What the hell? Sweet freaking Jesus. Okay, so this is how the article opens up with. I'll link the article down below so you can go read it yourself. Formula 1 weekend formats are likely to undergo radical changes as the category adapts to cater for younger audiences and shorter attention spans, according to F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali. Packing the calendar with more sprint events, adjusting the format of these races, and shortening the Grand Prix themselves have already been discussed with stakeholders, including the drivers themselves. Domenicali claims a majority is now in favour of such measures. And then it says, as to the fans, the message is essentially, it's happening, whether you like it or not, get used to it. Talking about making changes and not caring about how your fans are going to think about it? Yeah, great move F1, whatever floats your boat. So talking about practice and the sprint weekend, this article says that the feeling is that simply having cars tootling around on track with no underlying narrative is insufficiently appealing. Oh my god, I'll come back to that comment in a minute. Sprint races first. Domenicali has said, there's a topic on the table concerning the format we'll use in the coming years, starting with sprint weekends. We need to understand whether to increase them, how to increase them, and whether to use different formats. We have several discussions to have with the team to decide the direction. I have to say that aside from some older die-hard fans, everyone wants sprint weekends. Promoters push for this format, and now the drivers are interested as well. Okay, just pause there for a second. I'm almost certain there's probably some fans that are not older, die-hard fans who don't like sprint weekends. I mean, do you like the sprint races? Do you like the sprint weekends? I personally am not a fan. And I'm not an older fan. I am 24 and I've been into Formula 1 for 6 years. Do you like sprint weekends or not? Let me know. Anyway, continuing on. I'm being a bit provocative, but free practice appeals to super specialists, people who want to see more action and prefer a sprint weekend. There's more to discuss and comment on from Friday. There's a qualifying session, but I understand it has to become part of F1 culture. The direction is clear. I can guarantee that in a few years there will be demand to have all weekends with the same format. I'm not saying we'll get to MotoGP, which is a sprint race at every round. That's too big a step. I see it as more of a maturation process that respects more traditionalist approach. Okay, I'm just gonna go on a limb and say a sprint race at every race would not work. There's some tracks that just would not work for the sprint format. I can't help but feel like Baku really wasn't great for the sprint format. Monaco wouldn't work. I don't think Singapore would work either. Zandvoort, I can't help but feel like that wouldn't be good, but that's dropping off the calendar anyway. But some tracks that do really work for the sprint. Qatar seems to work. Kota seems to work. Brazil works. Austria seems to work. China seems to work. You know, find one more that actually really works. I can't remember where else we're going sprinting this year. Miami worked. So yeah, this year's sprint calendar, but changing Belgium back to Austria, and we have a good sprint calendar. Leave it at 6. I don't see a need for more than 6. It seems fine to me. But again, that's just my opinion. Would you like to see more sprint races, less? Or do you just not want any at all? If we have to have sprint races, then, 6 is fine, I think. I would change the qualifying format for it though. I've been adamant on that. They need to change the qualifying format for the sprint races because it's too much like Grand Prix qualifying. Make sprint qualifying a one-shot qualifying going out in championship order. The top guys get the worst qualifying track conditions, the bottom guys get the best, providing it doesn't start raining. It might mix things up a little bit, make the sprint race a bit more interesting, who knows? Now, sprint races aside, practice. Domenicali is talking about the idea of dropping practice. Again. So this has come up before, but this article says that Domenicali's argument is that simulation technology is sufficiently advanced for teams to go without 2 hours of practice on a Friday. Trigger warning for sensitive readers, yes, he's of course talked up the possibility of using AI tools without being any more specific. This article goes on to say that Domenicali said that The promoters and fans want action and blah blah blah. They want our surveys show that a vast majority of the audience wants the drivers to fight for a result. And then he says, to put it bluntly, they're tired of free practice. That's an objective fact that we can't ignore. Oh my god. I don't know how many times this has been said or needs to be said. Free practice is not for the fans. Free practice is for the teams to set up the cars, to learn about it. And maybe there's any small changes to the circuit from last year, new asphalt maybe. You know, the free practice is not for the fans. It's not meant to be interesting. It's meant to be for the teams. And I don't care how sufficiently advanced AI technologies or simulation technologies are that the teams have. Nothing will beat actually getting out onto the track to get the setup, because maybe your simulation technology got it wrong. Maybe it was wrong, and when you rock up, if there's no free practice, you just rock up straight into qualifying, then you realise, crap, our technology was wrong and now we're fucked. So this topic of dropping practice has come up before, and I don't know how many times it's gonna come up before the idea is flung completely out. And because the teams, the practice is for the teams, it's not meant to be interesting. But shorter Grand Prix also on the agenda. Now yes, Grand Prix used to be quite a bit longer than they are now. But Domenicali has said that even current races may be a bit too long for younger audiences. Grand Prix are like an hour and a half to 2 hours depending on the circuit. Hell, even just under an hour and a half if it's a shorter race, or it's a shorter circuit, or a quicker circuit, like say Monza for example. And yeah, they cannot be ignored. The attention spans in younger people today are shit. And we all know why that's to blame. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels. Like, short form content has destroyed attention spans. Hell, attention span has probably always been pretty low in kids, but I swear to God, never lower than it is today. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen anybody complain about the length of a Grand Prix. If it's a boring race, then yeah, it seems like it goes on forever. But like, how is like an hour and a half-ish too long for a Grand Prix? That's about the same length as a football match. You know, I don't know about any other sports. I don't even watch football, but... Oh, and he's also brought up the idea again of reverse grids. And Domenicali's justification for bringing this idea back is on the grounds that in F2 and F3, this format has been around for decades. That is a very, very questionable use of the word decades, I'm gonna be honest. You could say it rightly for Formula 2, because Formula 2 came in as GP2 in 2005, 20 years ago, 2 decades ago, fine. Formula 3 came in as GP3 in 2010. It hasn't even been 2 decades yet. You can't use the term decades for Formula 3. That is very much stretching it. The people who wrote this article also go on to say, one wonders what else may be on the table. Deciding grid positions by drawing lots? Don't rule it out. I just want to say to whoever wrote this article, who wrote it? Who's the credits at the beginning of the art? Who's on the credits at the beginning? Stuart Codling, Roberto Chinchero? Don't give Domenicali any ideas, for God's sake. Don't give him more ideas. I get trying new things. I'm all for them trying out something new, but some things they just shouldn't try because it's stupid. Shorter races, not needed. Don't go there. Don't try it. It's not needed. More sprint races, please no. Please no. I guarantee you there's a lot of people who just put up with the sprint races. I'm among them. And reverse grid, please don't. Okay, I don't see how that'll make changes. I really don't. It'll kind of just be like a race where the big guns are starting at the back with grid penalties, you know? Just kind of like that. Either that, or people will purposefully go slower so they can be starting at the front. You know, it risks that as well. And dropping practice, don't even go there, okay? It's not for fans. It's not meant to be interesting. Free practice is for the teams. Not every single thing on a Formula 1 weekend needs to be interesting and exciting and fun for the fans and make good TV. Some things, it's just for the teams to learn. And there's nothing wrong with learning. You know, this is a poor day if you don't learn anything new. But that's my ramblings. I'll link this article below for you to go read yourself. What do you think about all of this BS? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.